Hey guys, and welcome to LBB 91 Coaching. Today we're talking to you guys about what happens to the securely attached person when you don't text them back. I can tell you this now, most of the time they're not going to jump to those conclusions that the anxious person or the avoidant person jumps to. Earlier on in the series, we spoke about how the anxious person will begin to feel like because of the silence, they must reconnect with that individual person. And we've spoken about the dismissive avoidant individual who seeks to say, I don't care, I'm gonna just, emotionally detach. And then a fearful avoidant person who kind of swings and oscillates between the two. I care, but I don't want to care. And when I do care, it's kind of annoying that I care, right? But with a secure person, when you don't text them back, their immediate thought process isn't necessarily to jump to a conclusion that it's of one of negativity. No, it's not necessarily one space to think about how someone didn't text them that actually they're probably doing something or they don't care about me. Why? Because the secure person is exactly that words. They're secure. They recognize that actually they've built emotional trust within themselves, and actually the stress of the situation doesn't compound on them in a way that begins to lead them down a thought process that is one of insecurity. They handle handle silence and distance or delayed communication by actually recognizing that this could actually just be that they're in a situation right now. They could be busy, they could be doing something. And so they actually ask more questions than they do make judgments, which is why they are secure. And when you become more secure, you ask more questions than you do make judgments or statements. So let's get into this video and break it down. For those of you who are new to the channel, though, like it, share, subscribe, click on that wonderful bell button for notifications of the what? Uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. All right, let's get into this video. Don't forget to hype this one up as well. Leave a comment down below. Let's talk about what secure attachment actually is. And secure attachment is all about balance. It's about the ability to stay connected without losing yourself or self-abandoning your needs to be able to accommodate somebody else. It's about understanding that I can express my needs without guilt. I can take space without feeling, shame or embarrassment. I can also understand that distance doesn't mean there is danger immediately. I don't think of it in that way. I'm still emotionally connected in those spaces, which is very different for the other three insecure attachments. They recognize they can depend on other people and depend on themselves and still be okay either way. They're not trying to be hyper independent, but they're also not trying to be codependent. They recognize that this is a good balance that they have to bring to the table. So then how do these people who are secure become secure? The reality of the situation is they grew up in environments and in households where their emotions were seen, they were soothed, they were taken care of, they were allowed to express in a safe and a caring manner. And so because they were taken care of and emotionally not neglected, they've learned the security of being vulnerable, being able to express themselves emotionally without feeling the feeling of weakness or having to perform for somebody's affection. When they cried, they were comforted. When they spoke up, they were heard. And so these moments have actually been inbuilt into them, into their nervous system, that they don't actually feel dysregulated when situations that are emotionally stressful actually begin to tamper with other people. They recognize that connection is reliable and they don't have to, again, panic when certain things don't go the way they need to go. That doesn't mean they are perfect. It just simply means that the way that they react and deal with things is slightly different. And so let's talk about this scenario a bit more, because we've been talking about it for the last 4 episodes, right? And so this scenario of they will someone texting you whenever after a few hours and not necessarily messaging you immediately, what happens to a secure person? Well, I think the secure person goes through a phase of a mindset, right? They recognize that the other party may be delayed or something has happened on their end, tries to, give some level of thought process that could be a reason as to why they're not getting the message. That doesn't mean they don't have a thought process of like, okay, are they ignoring me or da-da-da? But it's very brief and it's very fleeting, again, because they don't have the same nervous system and they don't have the same experiences. So they're actually more anchored. So yes, they will have that thought. Are they doing this? Or are you talking to this person? What are you trying to? Yes, they might have those thoughts, but it's very brief, very fleeting. They don't allow themselves to succumb to it in that particular space. They trust if something's wrong that they can talk about it. They trust if something is wrong, you will talk about it. They can trust that this emotional space doesn't rise or fall. It's not dependent upon there being noise rather than silence. So if you don't text them, they're not expecting that there has to be a filter of noise to come in to feel safe. They recognize that silence isn't danger, and so they can sit in that space and be maybe discomforted and not feel the push and a pull to want to do something in that immediate moment. Okay, so let's talk a little bit as last part of result about some of the patterns that they actually exist in. Number one, they don't jump to conclusions. They don't need to because they're going to ask the question. They're going to watch your behavior and say, okay, wait, they haven't messaged me for the last few hours. Okay, are they okay? I just want to make sure. Cool. All right, they haven't replied. No worries. When they text back, I'll just make sure they're good, right? They're not jumping to conclusions to be like, they're definitely out here cheating. They definitely don't want me. No, they don't. Because again, they recognize their value and they recognize their esteem is not based upon your movement and your behavior. It's rooted in who they are and rooted in because of the training that they've actually undergone as a young child, which they've been given the supply of emotional needs that they had as a youngster. They use logic and communication. They recognize that not by jumping to a conclusion, not jumping on a statement, they're actually going to get more out of you by asking more questions because then it deepens their connection with you. Once they ask you questions, it gives you room to be able to state what you actually want. Now, why do they do that? Because in their childhood, that's what also was modeled to them. Before the parent would then punish them or say to them how wrong they were, there'd be communication, some level of thought, some conversation. They would be heard, they were seen. And so because of that, they often believe that they should offer those to other people as well. So they're able to wait patiently and recognize that slow replies can become a pattern, but they have to address it calmly. So maybe they did see that, you know what, this has been a common pattern over time. How would they address it? Calmly, and address it in a manner of, hey, I've noticed that certain, the last few weeks, you've been taking a little bit longer to reply. Is there any particular reason why this is happening? So their thought process is ask questions rather than run into judgments. And that's where you need to be. That's where I need to be. And if you're looking to be there and transform, to grow and to heal and to be that better partner, then by all means, reach out to us and sign yourself in for the coaching as well. But before we do that, anything else, like, share, subscribe, click on that wonderful bell button for the notifications of the uploads. And don't do anything you shouldn't do. Okay? I'm just kidding. Don't. Just behave yourselves out there. Okay. All right. We're going to see you again soon. Much love and much appreciation.